So in the early stages, what I do recommend is a lot of acceptance and compassion, and to kind of just sit with the fear, know that it's normal to feel this way. This is a precious baby, especially if you've experienced losses on the way to your baby.
Welcome to Get Pregnant Naturally, where functional medicine and natural fertility solutions will help you get pregnant and have your baby.
Hey everyone, I'm Sarah Clark, and my mission is to inspire, motivate, and empower you. Most of all, I want you to wake up. So with functional medicine, we can discover what causes infertility and eventually reverse the condition. Today, I'm welcoming Claire Brett back to the podcast. So definitely check out her episode number 12, where you'll get a peek inside a fertility hypnotherapy session. And so today we're digging into how to navigate the early weeks of pregnancy after experiencing infertility. So Claire Brett is a hypnotherapist, positive birth educator, fertility mindset coach. She's been supporting couples around the world from conception through to birth since 2007. So she lives in Cork, Ireland with her husband and her beautiful miracle daughter and 2 wayward dogs. She's a lover of meditation and all things positive psychology and emotional evolvement. Claire adores supporting couples through some of the most pivotal times in their lives, having had a long and difficult road to motherhood herself. Claire believes that we would not have the high infertility rates we do have worldwide if we tended to our emotional and mental well-being as a priority. Claire's a mission to widely share her important message of hope, inspiration, and trust in the power of the mind-body connection for fertility, pregnancy, and beyond. Definitely check out her website at fertilityfootsteps.com. And before we jump into today's show, don't forget to hit the subscribe button on iTunes or wherever you're listening to this to make sure you never miss an episode. Hey, Claire, excited to have you back on the podcast.
Yay, it's great to be back.
Yeah, awesome. So if you can just kind of share your story a little bit with us again and how you came to do this work.
Sure. So, yes, I've been on the road to having babies, but also on the helping other people to get on the road to having their babies, Sarah, for over 11 years now in different guises. So I'm a hypnotherapist traditionally, and around 2008, 2009 time, I began specializing in the areas of fertility, pregnancy, and birth. And I've pretty much been doing that since then. But little did I know that when I was starting my career in hypnotherapy, that I was going to have an almighty fertility struggle myself. And that went on between kind of the years 2011 to 2015, where myself and my husband were very much on our knees with our fertility struggle. We really went into very dark places on the road to finally getting to our daughter. But so that's kind of brought me back to the work that I used to do before that all kicked off. And I guess it's kind of molded me and shaped me into the mother that I am today. And that's a little bit about, I know, what we're going to be talking about today, the whole kind of journey that we go along, because there's no manual for this thing. And I suppose the last time that we spoke, we were very much talking about hypnotherapy and how it works and how it helps. But I guess today we're talking a little bit more about the journey of pregnancy following a fertility struggle. And that's something that I knew that you knew also that we needed to have a separate discussion about, because it's such a big area and it's such a gray area as well, because we go into that place of I guess feeling like we should be just so grateful and that we should be happy and really thrilled about everything throughout the whole pregnancy. And it was not like that for me. So I guess I'm here to share a little bit about that side of my journey today, in the hope that it will help some of your listeners that might be navigating that road after a difficult time.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's really important, because I think if we've been on the fertility journey and now we're in the early days, weeks of pregnancy, it can be extremely nerve-wracking and almost not wanting to even celebrate the fact that it's work, and especially if there's been any kind of loss too with miscarriages. So being able to, I just want to do this podcast to be able to give people some tools and tips to help them during this early stage, and to know that a lot of the thoughts that they're having are completely normal. So how do we navigate this early stage of pregnancy, especially when we've, in this case, experienced infertility?
I guess my top tip really for navigating those early stages of pregnancy is a lot of self-acceptance and a lot of just a bit of compassion towards yourself really is something that I didn't have in those early stages. Now, I did go through 5 fertility treatments myself. I say I, but obviously it was we, in case my husband is listening. And we went through 5 fertility treatments. I personally went through so many investigations, and as any of the ladies here that are listening will know, that it has that kind of impact and imprint on you, going through all of that to be able to get to your child. And it's such a fragile stage, and I felt extremely fragile at that point. Now, I guess in retrospect, I can see things now clearer because she's here and she's safe and all of that. But at the time, there was a lot of anxiety, for sure, at times crippling anxiety. And I mean, I did the work. When I say the work, I mean the head work, which is what I recommend everybody do before the baby even is conceived, if you can at all, to do the head work, because it will serve you in pregnancy, it will serve you for your birth experience. And as you know, Sarah, I'm a hypnobirthing practitioner as well. And so I see women kind of navigating the birth experience or preparing for the birth experience that haven't done the head work, especially women who have been on the IVF journey, we'll say, or just on a long fertility journey. And sometimes they just squash it all down, and they when the negative emotions come up, they get so used to pushing them down, and it's like a beach ball that you're trying to push under the water. They just keep bobbing up. And for some women, they kind of show up at the birth experience. For other women, it turns up as kind of like almost like post-traumatic stress on the other side. And for some women, of course, it can show up in the form of postnatal depression. And so in the early stages, what I do recommend is a lot of acceptance and compassion, and to kind of just sit with the fear, know that it's normal to feel this way. This is a precious baby, especially if you've experienced losses on the way to your baby. It's going to feel very unsafe much of the time, and you're going to feel like you are that's the way I felt, was fragile. I can't describe it any other way. I felt like it could be snatched away from me at any time. And it's just then at that point, it's about kind of breaking down the fear so that it's not this huge thing, and kind of just asking yourself, really, what if this very thing that I'm fearing the most is really just a feeling and it's not a fact? Breaking it down in those simple terms. Would breaking it down in that way affect how I'm moving through this precious time in my life? Just seeing the fear as kind of normal, accept it, know that it's just a feeling, and feelings can be changed, and really thoughts can be changed so much before they even get to a feeling. It's going to be very important around those early stages of pregnancy to give yourself a lot of self-love, and to connect with your body deeply and your baby. What so many women do is they almost think, I don't even want to think about it. I'm just going to kind of hold on and hold tight here. And I was supporting one of my clients the other day, actually, who's like this at the moment. And I was kind of saying, you need to feel into your womb. You need to spend time actually, literally welcoming your baby in, and kind of telling your baby like how precious that your child is, how much you can't wait for your baby to be here. Tell the baby, even at those very early stages when they're so tiny, sending those messages down to your womb is going to be key for both your peace of mind, but also, obviously it's going to be kind of calming for your body as well, for letting that pregnancy kind of settle in. And then if you're really finding kind of anxiety getting out of control and worry about whether this pregnancy will continue or not, it's really very, very important to have a few little tools to work with. So, I've shared this particular one with you, Sarah, before, regarding beliefs about your fertility, but it also is very fitting for early pregnancy. So it's based in cognitive behavioral therapy, and it's all about, truth statements. So the thing that you're saying, which may be, what if I lose this baby, I suppose would be probably one of the biggest fears. And kind of breaking it down into logical kind of cognitive restructuring, if you like, saying, is this statement true? Is it logical? What evidence do I have that is actually to my hands to make this be true. And then really asking yourself, okay, this just creates anxiety in me. So how would I prefer to be thinking, feeling, and responding instead? And then kind of turning that into an affirmation. And I know we're getting to affirmations early in this chat now, but it really is important to affirm to yourself from the very start that this baby wants to be here. This baby, you deserve to be a mother. This pregnancy is being embraced, and all of those positive statements. If you can manage to even kind of speak about safety and support, and put post-its on your mirror saying, I am safe, I am supported, my baby is safe, my baby is healthy, what I want wants me too. These kind of power statements can really, really help, especially in that time period of, for women on the IVF journey, we know so much earlier when we're pregnant, which can be great, but it can be a bit of a curse as well, because the way some people, when they have the whoopsie pregnancies, they don't know sometimes until they're like 10 weeks pregnant sometimes. But we know from practically, 3-4 weeks pregnant.
Right.
So you've got that kind of what seems like a very long time period. And I remember this myself, between that kind of 4-week point, 4 to 5 weeks, depending on when you've done your testing. And when you get your first scan, it can seem like an eternity. So in that time period, when nobody has kind of affirmed to you via medical scans that there is really a baby here, you've got to spend that time telling yourself all of these kind of power statements and statements of truth. And when the negative thoughts do come up, just acceptance is key. Acceptance and knowing why they are there, and feel into the feelings, but also then know that you have an option of how long this stress and anxiety needs to stay around.
Yeah, I like when, so for me, when I was obviously going through this and with donor eggs, and then the first 3 months, it was kind of considered a high risk pregnancy, even though it really wasn't, but it was because donor eggs at that point, they're like, okay, it's considered a high risk. And then I just told of very few people, like close family members, that I was pregnant. But it was still very, like, for me, I didn't have that support of really that the mindfulness piece wasn't for me. And I didn't really go through the anxiety, but I really was almost like that whole, I don't want to jinx it by, there's this thing, you got to get past the magic 12 weeks.
Yes. And nobody wants to talk about it or speak about it. We try and get through this, but I really think, and you mentioned it there, being mindful is key. It really is. Being present in each day, and actually, feeling into your body, feeling into all the little twinges that are happening. And there's a resource that I was kind of going to mention to you at the end, but I'll mention it now. There's a website called visembryo.com. I don't know if you know this one, Sarah. It's a fantastic website for women who are nervous in those early stages before they've kind of had the official scan. And it kind of really breaks down for you what's happening kind of from week to week. It shows you how your body is feeling and kind of what to expect, and what to be at ease with, and also tells you kind of like the step-by-step little development of the embryos and that kind of thing with visuals, because some people like to just have a visual on it to make it real in that time period between being told you're pregnant. And if you're anything like me, I mean, I was told I was pregnant, and I just could not believe it. I mean, we did a pregnancy test and then I had the blood test, but it just wasn't real to me until I had that scan. And there was a lot of stress in those weeks. Now, I did handle it quite well, just because of the tools that I would have, but there was a lot of uncertainty, and almost you do get into a cycle and a pattern of preparing for the worst, don't you, when you are trying to conceive? And so it becomes a way of life. But it doesn't have to define you either. You can change that at any point. So it's just about how to navigate through those earlier weeks, really, without kind of feeling like you're losing your mind. And that you mentioned this as well a few minutes ago. I think it's beneficial to tell somebody, aside from your partner, to have a confidant of some sort that you can share your concerns with, that you can kind of offload a little bit of your concern on somebody, just to kind of, have that listening ear without, and a trusted person who will say, they're not going to give you advice, they'll just listen to you. Because we do that thing that you just mentioned. We do the, oh, I'm just going to hold on tight here now until I'm told by the doctors that everything's okay. And we can really internalize that and kind of almost think like, I'm not giving that any energy now. But I'm recommending the very opposite, is that you do actually spend very intentional time kind of closing your eyes, visualizing, going into the womb, imagining what's happening here now, sending love to your baby, and kind of talking to your baby at that early point, even though I know it seems so small at that point. But it can really help to ease that stress, to kind of feel like, actually, there is something growing in here. There is life growing in here. And even just saying, I'm so happy you're here, and we're preparing a beautiful home for you. And, everybody can't wait to meet you, whatever works for you. But it's all these things can only help you with your state of calm, but also just make you be kind of almost a welcoming ritual for your baby as well.
Mm-hmm. And so that site was Viz, or is it VIS?
Visembryo.com. So it's VISEMBREO. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and it kind of just shows you, gives for anybody who struggles with that kind of early stages where everything seems so unreal and so scary. It can kind of give a visual on, okay, this is what's happening this week, and also give you, there's like a fetal timeline on it, and there's a maternal timeline on it, and it gives all these little kind of visual aids to help you maybe build your confidence and know that, oh, okay, even though it's really, really small, that's what's happening.
Yeah, I like what you're saying about during those early weeks, because it can seem, especially if we struggle for years and had many failed cycles and failed treatments and or losses, and now, oh wait, it doesn't seem real, and
Yes.
to not even being able to actually even enjoy this first 12 weeks or first 8 weeks, whatever it may be. So being able to then just send the baby just this amount of love, and also then sending it to yourself too.
Yes, absolutely. And that is something that comes up a lot, is and it's something that came up for me personally, to be honest, because that not being able to kind of get excited, not being able to really you kind of feel like you're supposed to be jumping around the place with excitement, and I wasn't. That's the honest truth. There were some things that went on in my pregnancy. There that happened for many women, which was 24/7 nausea. And that was in the early stages of pregnancy, and I was on my knees with sickness all the time. It was relentless. It was never ending for about 10 weeks. And I remember just feeling all this guilt, thinking, I'm supposed to be so grateful here. I'm supposed to be, and I mean, obviously, I'm going to talk about gratitude in a minute, and it's a huge thing, but I remember the guilt about not being grateful I was pregnant, because I was just so sick, I couldn't get excited. And then there was another part of me that I couldn't get excited because, even with all my work that I had done, I was kind of, thinking, as I said earlier, that sense of waiting for things to go wrong sometimes cropped up.
Shoe to drop, kind of.
Yeah, waiting for the shoe to drop. You're thinking, well, what's going to happen next? Like, I've got past this point, so what's next? And what I want to say to everybody listening is that you really must show yourself grace and compassion during this time period. If you're not getting excited and you feel like you should, and should is a word that I want to eliminate from from the English language, to be honest, if possible, because we do have that sense, don't we, when we struggle to have a baby, that we should be jumping from the rooftops and rah-rahing around the place. And it's okay not to be rah-rahing. It's okay not to be cheerleading all the time, because it's okay to just kind of meet yourself where you are and say, okay, I'm not okay today. I'm nervous. I'm concerned. I'm worried. And just kind of ask yourself, like, what message is this kind of giving me? And then say, okay, so I want to be able to really embrace and enjoy this precious pregnancy. So what are thoughts that I could actually kind of jump to instead, that are going to kind of impact the way I'm experiencing this, because the thing is that if any of the listeners who do get pregnant and are feeling any of these feelings, of guilt or whatever it might be at not being able to get excited. The thing that you have to remember, and this is something that I wish I could tell my my pregnant self, my early pregnant self, is that we are different. We are different to our friends who got pregnant very easily. But it doesn't need to be like a stick that we beat ourselves with, if you know what I'm saying. We can accept that we're a little bit different, but kind of make that be something good, reframe that rather than feeling like, oh, I should be excited and I should be enjoying this pregnancy a bit more. And maybe I'm kind of, do I really deserve this baby? Like, it can go to that place as well. And it went to that place for me. It's just about kind of, again, coming back to that compassion for self and saying, listen, I've had a long road to get here. And I'm a little bit exhausted, both physically and mentally, from all of the stuff that I had to go through to get this baby in the first place. And it's okay if I'm just a little bit nervous and a bit worried. But know that you have some ways to pull yourself out of that, so that you don't have to unpack your bags in it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's the sort of feeling like you don't belong. So it's hard to discuss it with your friends that are pregnant because they haven't been on the fertility journey. And then it's also hard to discuss it with your friends that are still on the fertility journey. So It's kind of like, oh, wait, and then who can I talk with?
Yes, that is so true, actually, because you're in that, and I very much found myself in that middle zone of thinking, because honestly, I have a group of, there's 8 of us in a group. We're friends since we were in school together, and none of them struggled to have a baby. In fact, it was the very opposite. And now, saying that, I and this is my advice to anybody listening, is a bit like what I said at the start, is pick somebody. They don't have to be somebody who struggled or somebody who is now pregnant that you don't want to bother with your concerns. Just pick somebody who is a good space holder, someone who's just going to listen without any kind of judgment or prejudice or advice. Somebody who you can just, and I had this person, I found this person because I remember feeling almost what would you call it, survivor guilt. When you make that kind of transition from the infertile woman to mother to be, you kind of feel that guilt. But also I went through some difficulties in my pregnancy, and there was this one beautiful friend of mine who I kind of just zoned in on her, and I said, okay, here's someone, and I just know her for so many years that I thought, okay, now she hasn't struggled to have a baby, she isn't pregnant herself, but I know she's somebody who can hold space for me, and I needed her throughout my pregnancy. And I went to her and I kind of said to her, can I offload on you, basically. She was that person for me. And if you don't have someone like that in your life, or you're kind of feeling like, actually there's nobody that fits that description in my life, then finding a tribe of some sort can be really helpful. So, obviously there's a lot going on online now in support groups. Ironically, it's easier to find fertility support groups now than it is to find those kind of early nervous pregnancy groups, but they are there. And I know there are some, we'll say, on social media, on the likes of Facebook, that would be like a pregnancy following infertility type of group. So I would say seek those out. But also, while doing that, keep an eye out and an ear out for the vibe within that group. That's very important, that it's a vibe of people lifting each other up, rather than everybody, getting kind of deeper into the kind of rabbit hole of the worry and the stresses, because there can be both, unfortunately. But it's just about being smart about it and doing your homework and finding these places where people like you are hanging out. Like I said, if there is someone in your life that fits the bill, then just kind of assign like a confidant. And my lady was amazing, my friend, and she's obviously still a really, really good friend of mine. She's kind of been with me through all of those pivotal stages in my life. And she was my go-to person when I was kind of feeling like I was losing it a little bit at times during my pregnancy.
Yeah, I like you, I have a tight group of girlfriends that I've had since I was like 12, and there's 8 of us. Yeah, and like you, I was the only one that struggled, and same like you. A lot of the rest of them had multiple children. So when I was going through this, I really, for me, I leaned on my partner, who is I don't know, he's my best friend. So
Oh,
for that, it was really helpful for me. So that's kind of who my trusted person was. And I remember looking at the, what to expect when you're expecting, and went deep into that little, now it's an app, but and down that book. So that was very helpful for me to be able to see each week and how things were growing. And
yes.
yeah. And so I guess there can be some distrust that your body is able to carry a baby, that it's,
Mm.
it's maybe because a lot of times during the fertility journey, it can be, I feel broken, why my body isn't able to do this. And now that it's actually worked, how to look forward to an actual birth and how to visualize that even working. We've talked about some tools you've talked about here, using affirmations such as I am safe, or my baby is healthy, what I want wants me to. So affirmations can be helpful during this. Anything else to help when we're feeling that distrust?
Yes, affirmations are key. And, affirmations around your amazing, powerful body, that's going to be important if there is that distrust that your body is able to carry a baby. And although I didn't experience miscarriage myself, I did have a sense that my body had let me down on so many occasions, that and yes, I had done the work. I had done a lot of work around it, but none of us are perfect. We're all human, even the hypnotherapist. And so therefore I really had to continue my work throughout my pregnancy, my inner work. So I used affirmations a lot, and I went to town on the affirmations because I'm the kind of person that needs constant reminders. So I would have done things like put them on post-its on the mirror where I brush my hair every day.
Mhm.
I would put reminders on my phone as an alarm to go off 3 times a day. Just kind of, there's a very powerful affirmation that is so simple that we've all heard time and time again, but it serves through everything. And it is just like, I am more than enough. I am enough. It encompasses everything, but it is key for pregnancy to say that, I'm enough. As a mother, my body is enough, and it's going to kind of, harbor this baby and keep it safe. And just to kind of give yourself those affirmations is going to be very important throughout if you have that distrust.
Mhm.
um, Visualization, obviously, as you know, I'm a big fan of visualization and hypnosis. And even getting into a practice of we'll say affirmations in the morning when you get up, maybe doing a little bit of kind of morning pages, where you're letting your feelings out on paper so that they're not kind of clouding your judgment as you go through your day. And then maybe at nighttime getting into a habit of putting on a guided visualization or a hypnotic recording, which is all about the power of your body, all about the strength of your body, and all about how your baby knows what to do, because that's something that we forget. And it's a funny thing, actually. It just reminded me of my pregnancy yoga teacher, because I used to go to yoga in pregnancy and I loved it. And it was just an amazing time to tune in and to really kind of stop all the noise. I know you're a big yogi, Sarah.
Mhm.
But I loved my pregnancy yoga. And what my yoga teacher used to say to us, she was a bit of a character, and she used to say to us, if anybody was stressing about the safety of the baby or the worries, and I mean, obviously there are some issues that crop up in pregnancy, of course, that are very real, and not saying that they don't. But she said to us one time, and I couldn't get it out of my head, she said, did any of you have to go to a grow your own fetus class? No, you didn't. She was like, they just know what to do. They just have this innate wisdom to know how to grow. And we have to trust that. We have to stop trying to control things. And it was kind of like a light bulb moment for me, where I thought, yeah, actually, this baby like fought to get here, and they just kind of know what to do. So that was a moment for me where I thought, oh yeah, actually, I can just kind of I just need to give this baby a little nudge, really. It's just doing its thing. It's working away. But visualization, I think, really enhances that. And it also helps you to really kind of gain more trust in your body when you kind of realize the power of what you're actually doing here and creating life, and the miracle that you've created, and that is just, it's all going on behind the scenes as you continue with your day. But it is important sometimes to kind of stop with the busyness and check in and kind of just ask your baby and ask your body, what do you need from me today? Something as simple as that. and listen for the answer, because sometimes we just don't listen. And sometimes your baby actually can give you a very important message, like, I need you to slow down. I need you to just trust that I'm okay. Do you know what I'm saying? So that kind of visualization and stopping and just being present, even if you're a person whose mind goes like really crazy all the time, just stopping and saying, okay, body, baby, what do you need from me today? Just asking a simple question like that can be really great, and it helps you to connect with the baby as well. They really, they're just simple things, but they help. And the other thing that I found is very helpful with that kind of sense of distrust of the body, or wanting to develop more trust in your body, is to, and this kind of comes back to beliefs again, is look for evidence of people who've overcome massive struggles, and got to hold their baby in their arms. Look for it in your life, look for it online, start to set your intention around looking for miracles everywhere you go. Because when you shift your thinking from what could go wrong to all the times when it went well, then you're going to be kind of really raising your vibration. And that's just going to help you have a much more pleasant pregnancy. Because if there's one thing that I wouldn't say I regret, but I wish I did more of, was just actually embracing the embodiment of pregnancy that I was in, because there was an element for me of, I just want to get to the next stage. And once I get to the next stage, now I'll be able to relax.
Yeah, it is really being able to enjoy the journey, each trimester, each stage as we go through this. And yeah, and then that controlling mind comes up and wants to have us think onto these other thoughts, or these control. And as you say, the fetus just knows what to do.
I mean, as a type A control freak, there's nothing like being pregnant after infertility to push your buttons.
Yeah. So I like that, to kind of look for the miracles. So look for the more you look for the positive all around you, guess what? The more the positive shows up. And I like when you're talking about morning pages, which from Julia Cameron, The Artist's Way.
Yes,
so in the morning, doing that like data dump of. Sometimes it's interesting when you're writing, you're like, where did that stuff come out? So taking 20 minutes and doing that like stream of consciousness just to get that on a page. And then, as you go to bed, finding a visualization. We have one on the Fab Fertile site, fabfertile.com. And it's a guided visualization that you can listen to before bed. So yeah, putting those positive things in your mind, and then you start to just look for the positive and start to think the positive. And
you do. And as well, other little things like asking your baby for a sign. If you're in a moment of panic about something, asking the baby for a sign. And this is something that's very personal to me, actually. And it's something that I just thought of when I was thinking about our discussion that we were going to be having today, because I haven't thought about it for a while. But when I was pregnant, I went through three actually quite scary bleeds in my pregnancy that really, really frightened me so much. And it was that sense that, okay, here we go, it's being taken away from me now. And it's amazing when you do the work, do the head work, how you do go to that place, of course, of fear. As I said, I'm only human. But I remember very distinctly a kind of a pivotal moment where I was up in the local hospital here, and I had quite a significant bleed, and I thought it was all over. And it was in those kind of earlier stages of pregnancy. And we were sitting in the room, and actually, I think it was about 20 weeks of pregnancy actually that this happened. So it was kind of unexpected now that I think about it. The earlier bleeds had happened earlier in the pregnancy, but this was about 20 weeks. And my baby had at this point, like, started moving and stuff. So I was very, really aware of the movement of the baby, which was wonderful. But I had this bleed, but also coinciding with that, I hadn't felt the baby move for a few days. And anybody that I know, any of my clients that I support, or any of my community who get pregnant, they do worry about this quite a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And there's two things. Firstly, I would say to any expectant mama, just do not think twice about having yourself checked out. Don't think you're crazy. Don't think you're over emotional. If you're able to have access to get to a Doppler, or get to your doctors, just to check the heartbeat, just do it. There have been times when people would say, oh, I don't want to be bothering people, but if you can, do it, because it's just going to reassure you. But this particular time, I remember there was like a voice inside me. Like there was obviously the fear voice saying, okay, well, it's all over now, Claire, and everything, that's you told. You got excited about this and now it's being taken away from you. There was that voice on the one hand, but there was this extraordinary, I can't describe it. It was like just somebody putting their hands on my shoulders and just kind of saying, it's okay. It's okay, And we were sitting in the emergency room in our local hospital here, and my husband was kind of losing it a little bit because he was obviously very worried as well. And I hadn't felt movement for a few days, and I literally said to my baby, please give me a sign. Just give me a sign. I don't care what it is, just give me a sign. And I'm not joking you, Sarah. I don't know if I told you this story before or not, but I mean it when I say, as soon as I said, give me a sign, I got the most massive kick. Yeah. I mean, to the point that I nearly keeled over. I got such a kick, and it was the first big movement I had felt in quite a few days. And it was my baby telling me, it's okay. I know it was.
I'm here.
I know it was. And at that point, I said to my husband, we can go home now. And he was like, well, can we just get checked out? But it was like an inner knowing. And obviously the feeling the baby helped. But, it's amazing how cognizant they are actually in utero. And obviously the baby had felt my stress and was giving me a reassurance. And I know some people might say, oh, I don't know about that. The baby just kicked at the right time. But I know that it was my baby telling me, it's okay, I'm here,
Yeah, ask for the signs and they end up showing, they're all over you. They show up everywhere. Synchronicity.
Yes, for sure.
And then the bonding part. So sometimes we may feel we're not able to bond with the baby during pregnancy, and then maybe even afterwards. Worries about that, especially even if you're using donor eggs. That's a huge question I get a lot of times. But bonding while pregnant, by pregnant, what's your take on that?
Yes. So bonding while pregnant or when the baby's here, or both?
Let's talk about the first one while pregnant. So bonding.
Yeah.
And
yes.
Really feeling the baby, as you say, connecting.
Yes. And of course, the bonding probably is a little bit harder in those earlier weeks when you're not getting physical movement, as I said earlier. But I can't stress enough talking to the baby, welcoming your baby in, and that mindfulness, that sense of, okay, being in the moment and thinking, okay, this pregnancy is so precious. I choose to enjoy each day and take each day as it comes, each moment as it comes. And I know sometimes that can be a challenge, but we can only be in the present. We cannot control the future, and we cannot keep going to the past for answers. When it's about kind of tuning in and telling this baby how happy you are and your partner are that they are here. And again, kind of going back to affirmations and telling yourself, like, this baby is a part of me, and I absolutely embrace this pregnancy. I let go of what I can't control. I embrace the things I can control. And just kind of also coming back to the compassion piece and saying, you know what, nobody gets it perfect. Nobody gets it perfect. And kind of telling yourself, I have amazing coping skills, and bonding with your baby it takes on many different forms, and it's not the same for everybody, but your journey is your journey, and that's okay. However it actually manages to go for you, It's about also letting go of expectation, because isn't it that like your expectations, but also other people's? Like we've got to kind of let go of that, because each pregnancy is unique. Each story is unique. Each road to pregnancy is unique. So we've got to kind of step back and say, okay, the bonding can look different to everybody, and just trust that, this is your baby, and of course you and your baby are going to bond, but it's going to be in your own unique way, and take the pressure off the expectation.
Yeah, that media way that we think it's supposed to be, where everything's all roses and sunshine and you're happily. I don't know, just some of that, so the way things are portrayed, because not to say it's going to be negative for you, but it could be in a different way. Maybe that's not even your personality.
Yeah,
that you're
exactly. And when the baby's here, I mean, because you struggle to have a baby doesn't mean that you need to be this Pollyanna mum, because let's face it, parenting is hard, and it's wonderful, it's amazing, but it's also one of the biggest challenges because it's so new and it's also different to life as it used to be. And, I'm the first to put my hand up and say, like, in those early few weeks, like, I felt like I'd been knocked over by a truck. And that's the truth. And for all the love and amazingness of it, it was challenging. And I think it's about as well kind of being okay with that and thinking, okay, this, it's another part of the journey, but it doesn't have to be that, again, going back to that kind of survivor guilt, that just because you struggle to have a baby that you have to get it all right from the get-go, because everybody's story is different. And society puts pressure on us, friends put pressure on us, and and as you just said, everybody's personality is different and everybody's way of bonding with their baby, both in utero and also out in the world, is going to be different, and yours is just fine. And it's coming back again to I am enough. And the even those pros that we have, that I have in inverted comma, the people who seem to, the moms that seem to have it all figured out, even they struggled in the initial
They're lying.
justification. I don't care what you say, they're totally lying.
Yeah, and I think well, for me, it was I panicked before actually my daughter was born, because I thought I needed to do all these breathing classes, and I couldn't get the breathing. Was it in, out, up, down? I just figured it out. And it was like a month before, and I said to my husband, I'm like, okay, I need to go take an additional like Lamaze course where I was like learning how to breathe. And he's like, what are you talking about? And I couldn't get the in. I just couldn't figure it out.
What should we put on ourselves?
And then I ended up having a C-section, but and then during the breathing, I'm like, oh, all the breathing kind of. Although I did use some of the breathing, but some of it went out the window a little bit. But you just navigate it, and you do the best that you can. But yeah, it's interesting, kind of trying to control it, and certainly thinking you needed things to be a certain way, whereas more to get into that space of just trusting kind of the process and where you are, and not comparing yourself that you've got to be this way as a pregnant woman, this way as during the early stages of motherhood, sort of just doing what feels right for you. Everyone thought that I wouldn't be able to even change a diaper, because I'd never babysat a kid before. I didn't know how to change a diaper, but I figured it all out. Yeah, and I guess
it kicks in, doesn't it?
It does. It does.
And it's just about taking the pressure off yourself and kind of saying, look, I'm doing my best, and that is enough. And just coming at each day from that place. That's kind of my best advice, because when we put that perfectionist hat on, and comparisonitis is a killer, because everybody is different, and we've got to kind of realize, you know what? Because I used to do that. I used to think, why aren't I like my friend down the road, or why aren't I like my next door neighbor, and why can't I be like the person who doesn't go out of the house with baby spit on her jumper, because I used to say to my sister, I'm one of these people that either I go out of the house looking good and the baby looks terrible, or vice versa. I can't do both, I just can't do both.
I remember I couldn't get out the house before 11 a.m. It literally, every time I tried to go, there was an explosion or a spit up or something. Yeah, it was all, and then at the end, you just left. You just you worry about it.
Take the pressure off.
Yeah, exactly. Being this perfect, things being a perfect way. And again, it's like controlling the situation. In early days of pregnancy, controlling it a certain way, and making these sort of deals with whoever you're making deals with, universe, God, of what'll happen, instead of like, that's the whole mindfulness practice of being in the moment. And then those affirmations are very helpful. I like the app Think Up, which is a good one. Then you can actually record the affirmation in your own voice, which is even more powerful than
very powerful.
Put it on.
Can't run away from yourself, can you?
Yeah, there I am saying, I'm enough, until you're like, damn it, I am enough.
Yes, I really am, actually. And you kind of almost get a little bit, yes,
exactly. Yeah,
because and the other thing to mention, Sarah, actually, that I forgot to say, which is kind of key here for anybody who is in those early stages of pregnancy listening, and who's nervous about birth and the whole lot, is that these things that I'm mentioning here, the self-acceptance, the compassion for yourself, and also that sense of there's no textbook And I mean, as a hypnobirthing teacher, obviously the majority of people that I meet want to have a natural birthing experience. And I've found that people who have gone through IVF and fertility struggles, they really want to have the natural birth experience. And it's about also accepting that yeah, you can do as much as you can do to hopefully make that happen. But sometimes things just don't go to plan. And I mean, they didn't for me either. Same as you, C-section. And as a hypnobirthing practitioner, that was like my ultimate nightmare. But that was my lesson, I guess, as well, was that, look, this is how this baby was meant to be born, and that's okay. Because I went through a huge period of beating myself up for the fact that I had a C-section. And I eventually I kind of came around to accepting it faster, I guess, than if I hadn't done the head work beforehand, where I suddenly realized, I've got to let go of control here. This child is breech, she's not turning, it's just the way it is. And afterwards, when I heard my self-talk turning into, she, because she had a little bit of reflux and stuff like that, and I was blaming it on the C-section until I realized that a lot of babies get reflux when they haven't had when they haven't had a C-section. And I was kind of blaming and telling myself a story that everything was coming down to this and that. It's just a story, and you can change the story.
Absolutely. And just talk a little bit about gratitude, how that can be helpful during the journey.
Well, gratitude it's a big subject. And I know that in our line of work, Sarah, and the people that we meet, it can be hard to embrace gratitude a lot of the time, because you're thinking, I'm struggling to find something to reach for. But gratitude is very much a way of getting you out of stuckness and getting you out of that place where you're catastrophizing, I suppose, and getting you to a place of thinking, okay, well, what's good? And so there were times in my pregnancy where I had to really reach for gratitude and kind of literally say statements of gratitude. And I used to have this gratitude jar, and actually I ask a lot of my community, my fertility ladies, to get a gratitude jar at home. And each day, have a few little slips of paper, ideally like 5 to 10, and just put little notes of gratitude on the slips of paper and just pop it in the jar. And when you're having like a weak moment, to go to the jar and say, okay, I've got all these things going on. And the gratitude when you are in that state, those stages of pregnancy, can just really be all around. I'm so grateful for my strong, powerful body that is homing, is a safe home to my baby. And I like to kind of use the thank you universe for. That's how I kind of start my gratitude practice. So thank you universe for this amazing day. Thank you universe for this, for me, my ability to be able to work on my own time and that kind of stuff. So it raises your brain's chemistry to be grateful. The thing about it also is, and the thing that I kind of concept of, I meet so many women who say to me, I'll be happy once I'm pregnant. And I said that, I guess, in all honesty and transparency. I'm sure I said that many times. But what I learned afterwards is that that turns into, okay, I'll be happy once I'm pregnant. And then it turns into, well, no, I'll be happy once I have the baby safely in my arms, and that's grand, that's fine. And I said that to myself many times, but it is flawed in a way, because what is going to help you have a happier, healthier, more enjoyable pregnancy is to get grateful now for all of the things that you have today in the moment. And to be grateful in the moment is literally raising your brain's chemistry. It's making you, it literally will just boost all of the good pregnancy hormones. And the thing is that an attitude of gratitude very much tells the universe you mean business and that you are intending something to be, rather than wishing for something or hoping to feel a certain way. When you sit and kind of bask in how amazing is my life today, then you cannot be in a negative kind of stressful place at the same time. I'm not saying that we don't experience stress in pregnancy, and that I'm not saying you should make yourself wrong for that, but I'm just saying make gratitude part of your daily practice, because it is so powerful. And it really, if you're someone who worries a lot, and some people kind of get concerned as well that feeling stressed would harm the baby. Like, that's something that can come up as well. And the thing that I want to say about that is feelings are better out than in. So embrace all of the feelings, like do the gratitude work, and talk about what you're so grateful for and kind of journal on that and do your gratitude jar, but also allow your feelings. Allow your feelings, because they keep emerging if you ignore them. And you mentioned earlier there, Sarah, how you kind of just put your head down and in those early stages of pregnancy and just kind of hope to get through it.
Mm-hmm.
But if you are squashing down guilt, you're squashing down fear, you're squashing down anxiety, they really are. Feelings are very much like school children. They'll just keep shouting louder if you keep ignoring them. And so when we reach for gratitude, we start to kind of shorten the time of worry. We start to find ourselves going less into that negative visualization place when we are instead reaching for the things that are actually great and wonderful about this pregnancy, great and wonderful about this life that you're living, and all of the other stuff that's going on in your day.
Yeah, I just finished watching the Brene Brown documentary on Netflix. Highly recommend it.
Love it.
Yeah, so shame researcher and vulnerability, and really talking about the gateway to joy is gratitude.
Yes.
Yeah, people having joyous lives, it's because they're practicing gratitude on a daily basis.
Yes. Oh, well, I mean, Sarah, you and I now have kind of, I think we're verging now on major lady crush here, aren't we? Territory with Brene Brown.
Oh yeah, I love her.
We've spoken about her a few times now.
Yeah, that documentary
it's amazing.
is like,
and
yeah,
how relative is her teaching to fertility, pregnancy, and birth and parenting?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's crazy because and the thing about it is, and what I just want to mention as a side note about this stress, because I meet so many ladies who feel guilt about feeling stressed because they're worried about the stress and what it might do and the impact it might have and all of that. The thing about it is that life throws stress at us daily, and sometimes we have zero control over what's going to be thrown at us, so much of the time. And what we do have control over is how long that stress is going to be a driving force in our day, and how we can control how we divert it. And as I mentioned, I had many curveballs thrown at me in my pregnancy, and there was a massive kind of sudden death of a loved one in our family when I was pregnant, and I remember feeling utter panic at how can I protect the baby from this stressful, awful situation we were all going through. And for anybody listening who would be concerned about stresses in pregnancy, what I want to say to you is babies are unbelievably resilient. It's just amazing how resilient they are. And as somebody who went through IVF and doing all the right things and, lying down with my legs up in the air after my embryo transfer and doing all that stuff, it was actually my successful IVF was the one where I was, now I mean, that, by the way, disclaimer, I'm not recommending doing this, but I'm just saying I wandered around an airport dragging a bag after me 2 hours after my embryo transfer. I had a lung infection that I had that, anybody who's had a lung infection knows what that does to your pelvic floor. And there was so much going on around the time that my baby was implanting that I just thought, there's no way this baby, if the baby is implanting, it's going to survive. Like, there's no way. And there was a lot of stuff went on in my pregnancy. And, my little girl was fed strawberries and noodles because that was a craving I had. It was the only thing I could actually eat when I had that nausea for nearly 3 months. And she's thriving. So, and, one of my hypnobirthing clients recently, just as a kind of a side note on the stress, told me that she's pregnant with twins, actually, this particular lady, and she had a lot of fertility issues as well. And she has had hyperemesis, really, really bad. She's been on a drip in hospital for nearly 4 months of her pregnancy with twins. And she just recently had a scan. She was getting so stressed and worried, and we were doing a little bit of work around it about, the effect on her babies and the fact that there hasn't been actual food past her lips for the last nearly 4 months. And her baby's the perfect weight and size and measuring perfectly. So, this is the thing to bear in mind if you feel concerned about what stress might be doing or how strong your body is or the baby or whatever. Just remind yourself of these things. Babies are amazing and they're so resilient. So just always remember that.
I love that. Another, sounds like I'm watching Netflix all the time, but I watched the I watched the Amy Schumer, and she had hyperemesis. She did a comedy special there where she's pregnant, and had hyperemesis, the same thing for
Oh,
I don't know how the first
wow.
I think 4 months or so, and just
Yes.
would go and do a show and then vomit before she came out.
Oh,
In hopes she would
wow.
have to vomit during the show. Anyway, if you want a good laugh, watch that documentary.
She's so
Oh
funny,
yeah,
isn't
she's
she?
awesome.
But it is
Okay.
true though, I mean that's it. And you go through all that worry. And again, my lady who was having the twins, she had all this guilt around the fact that she struggled so much to have these twins. And the end of the day, and actually she's about 35 weeks pregnant now, and she's absolutely blooming.
Mm, mm. So can you share with us anything you're obsessed with right now, either be it a book, a website, an app, a documentary, anything you would like to recommend to everyone?
Mm. Well, a double mention for Brené Brown's documentary, because I just watched it recently. It's amazing. And I just think all of her talk about shame and vulnerability
Mhm.
and courage and everything she talks about is just amazing. And it's so relative. So watch any of her TED Talks or her documentary. Um, and Insight Timer, I don't know if you know that app. I'm obsessed with this app.
Mhm.
It's a free meditation app, and they've got everything in there. They've got fertility, they've got pregnancy related stuff. They've got like 5-minute meditations all the way up to like an hour and a half, maybe 3 hours. You can get everything in there, and I'm really loving that at the moment. Um, and The Universe Has Your Back. I have just recently listened to the audio book version of it, and I just love it. Gabby Bernstein, I just love it. There's so much in there, and it's a little bit woo, but it's amazing. And I love it, and I'm a little bit woo, as you know. Been embracing my woo.
That's right.
Um, and yeah, they're my top recommendations at the moment. Really, I've been kind of listening to some podcasts. What have I been listening to? I mentioned it to you earlier. Gold Digger. That's
Oh
a good
yeah.
one. It's not necessarily around fertility, but it's very much about or personal development. And yeah,
Nice. So Brene Brown, Gabrielle Bernstein. I love all her work. I've
yes.
heard the Judgment Detox. I've got that
Oh, I
one.
haven't read that one. I've got to
Yeah.
read that one.
Oh, that's a must read. But yeah, Universe Has Your
Yes.
Back. That's a good one too. Awesome. So, any success story you'd like to share with anyone?
Yeah, I've had actually a wonderful
Uh-huh.
success story recently, and it's a fantastic lady who she came to me originally after multiple miscarriages, and in a very, very, very low place. And we did a lot of work together. And initially, she really struggled to, I guess, kind of look within as to things that needed to be healed from her younger years and stuff. So we did a lot of deep work together. And this lovely lady, it's just such a joy, because she had multiple miscarriages, but she also felt like she was now kind of almost mentally blocking the pregnancy from coming in because of all the hurt she had through the miscarriages. So we did a lot of work around that. And this wonderful lady then became pregnant shortly after our time together. And she then came to me with her husband on my hypnobirthing class, and she's just recently given birth to a beautiful little girl. And we met. I might have told you this actually when we've been speaking, Sarah. She gave me this beautiful little angel, kind of inscripted, with a lovely little thank you note. But what was so amazing about her is that I just saw her completely change before my eyes.
Mhm.
And she's like a different person. And she said that to me. She was like, I don't feel like the person you met that day is even me anymore, because she's finding everything in her life so much easier, because she's done this kind of deep kind of soul work, I guess you could call it.
Mhm.
And she very much looks at her fertility journey as kind of almost like a journey back to herself. And so many people say that to me,
Yeah, mothering
like a
yourself
journey
during
back
this
to
time.
themselves, exactly. And um it's she kind of also was saying like how doing the work early it's almost like boot camp for parenting. you
Mhm.
know
Yes.
and for conscious parenting. And she really is like a different person. And even meeting her with her baby, she was so chilled with the baby, and it was all very relaxed, and she had this amazing birth experience. And I was kind of like, wow. So she's somebody who massively inspires me, and I just love when it comes full circle like that, where I get to help them in the early stages, but then meet them when the baby's coming, and then meet the baby. Of course, it's just amazing.
Yeah, working through your patterns, your triggers, all your stuff, and then being able as a parent to be able to navigate that, because those kids will trigger every last little thing.
Absolutely, yeah. And I guess in kind of wrapping things, which I know you're doing soon, but is just to kind of mention, and going back to Brené Brown a bit, and you will recognize this quote, but just to know that in like the whole, and I don't really like the word infertility, as you know, but the fertility struggle, or the kind of road to your baby, that it really is only just part of your story, and it doesn't have to define your future, and Brené Brown says owning our story and loving ourselves through that process is the most loving thing we can do for ourselves. So it's just about being okay with sometimes being not okay, and kind of accepting yourself along the way, and going, okay, kind of feeling into the discomfort sometimes, but knowing that you can come out the other side, but you don't have to get it perfect, whatever perfect is anyway. Hey.
That's right. Awesome. So you have a printable gratitude journal for the listeners, and then go to fertilityfootsteps.com/how an attitude of gratitude can boost your fertility. And I'll have the link in the show notes. So can you share with listeners what they're going to get there?
Yeah, so if you go to that page, you'll see a video for me talking about gratitude jars, and just a little blog. But at the very bottom of the page, there is a lovely group of different types of gratitude journals where you can print off some pretty, they're really pretty, and you can print them off, and it's got the days of the week on them. And there's enough space there for you to just make some love notes, we'll say, towards yourself, and to have that kind of sense of thinking about what blessings can I see around me, what blessings do I have within me, and just kind of taking some time each day to and this is a space where you can do that. So also kind of printing them off and writing can really engage that right brain, that creative part of your brain. So it's a great little resource that I think and I hope that you will find useful.
Awesome. So fertilityfootsteps.com, how an attitude of gratitude can boost your fertility. And thanks so much for coming back on the podcast, Claire. I love your whole take on things, and your energy, and just sort of this love that you exude, and compassion for others. And thanks so much for coming on and talking about this really important subject.
Oh, thank you, Sarah. As you know, I'm very, very honored to be here, and anybody that is listening will probably pick up on the fact that Sarah and I are friends, and we get each other. So I'm always thrilled to be in your world. So thank you for having me.
Thank you for listening to Get Pregnant Naturally. Seriously, it means the world to me that you're here. Make sure you hit the subscribe button so you can be notified of upcoming episodes. I'm excited to offer you a special gift. If you're a U.S. resident, text FERTIL to 345-345. You'll be prompted to enter your email address, and you'll receive our fertility yoga download. In this 20-minute intro video, we focus on a calming and peaceful practice to connect back to your heart. These simple fertility yoga poses can help quiet negative thoughts and make you feel more in control. Download it now and get started today. So for U.S. residents, text FERTILE, FERTILE, to 345-345. For non-U.S. residents, go to www.yogafreebie.com to access your special gift. That's www.yogafreebie.com to access the free fertility yoga download. And I love this quote by Dr. Mark Hyman, medical director of the Cleveland Clinic Center for Functional Medicine and chairman of the Institute for Functional Medicine. Functional medicine is medicine by cause, not by symptom. Functional medicine practitioners don't in fact treat disease. We treat your body's ecosystem. We get rid of the bad stuff, put in the good stuff, and because your body is an intelligent system, it does the rest. Thanks for listening. Until next time.